operating profit at Sony soared 73% in the second quarter. Strong sales in its game and network business helped offset weakness in movies. Sony's businesses also include music and chips. The Japanese firm on Friday maintained its profit forecast of over $8.5 billion for the year to March. The bumper second quarter profit was also helped by solid sales of image sensors and improvement in its game hardware business. Sony generates more than a third of its revenues from the game and network service segment, where profit nearly tripled. It comes just a day after it released an upgraded version of its flagship PlayStation console with better graphics. Although Sony's sales of its PlayStation 5 were down 22% from the second quarter a year earlier, it maintained a sales forecast of 18 million units for this financial year. The industry is grappling with the rising cost of creating games, and Sony said last month it was shutting down 2 PlayStation developers. Its movie sector profits slid to around $1.2 billion for the quarter, from around $1.9 billion a year ago, after the delayed release of movies due to strikes in Hollywood last year.
Warner Brothers Discovery shares soared as much as 17% in Thursday morning trading, after the company posted a quarterly profit when a loss was predicted. Also, its Max streaming service added nearly 1 million more subscribers than anticipated, as it expanded into Europe weeks before the Paris Olympics, which it had the exclusive rights to stream on the continent. That was its strongest quarterly subscriber gain since the platform's launch. On an earnings call, CEO David Zaslav called it a meaningful moment that has capped 2 years of building the service and reversed millions of dollars in losses. He also said he anticipates a friendlier environment for deal-making under the incoming Trump administration, opening the door to industry consolidation. Zaslav said this would provide a positive and accelerated impact on the industry that is needed. However, during Trump's first administration, the Justice Department sued to block AT&T's purchase of an earlier version of the company known as Time Warner. Trump, who is a frequent critic of CNN, which was owned by Time Warner and is still owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, denounced the deal, which won approval from a judge. Like its rivals, WBD has been grappling with a decline in cable TV, a longtime profit engine, as more subscribers shift to streaming. The downturn has pressured companies to seek alternatives for the business. Last week, Comcast said it was considering spinning off its cable networks that include CNBC into a separate company.
Nissan is to slash its global production capacity by 20%. 9,000 jobs at Japan's third-largest automaker will be cut. It says the restructuring will make its business leaner and more resilient as it battles headwinds in China and the United States. Nissan also cut its annual operating profit forecast by 70% to $975 million, marking its second downward revision this year. Operating profit for its second quarter tumbled 85%, far below expectations. Nissan joins a growing number of foreign automakers struggling in China. They're hurt by intensifying competition from nimble Chinese manufacturers in the booming electric vehicle market. But second quarter sales have also been sluggish in the US. They fell almost 3% to about 500,000 vehicles. Together, China and the US account for nearly half of Nissan's global sales by volume. Nissan says that core models in the US did not sell as well as expected, and that the automaker had been surprised by the rapid growth in demand for hybrids. It confirms it did not have the hybrid and plug-in hybrid lineup required for the market. Automakers are bracing for President-elect Donald Trump to potentially impose new tariffs on vehicles from Mexico and other countries, and to reverse many existing pro-electric vehicle policies.
U.S. stocks finished flat to higher Thursday after the Federal Reserve cut interest rates again, extending a sharp rally sparked by Donald Trump's return as U.S. president. The Dow ended the session unchanged, while the S&P 500 added 0.75% and the Nasdaq rose twice that. The S&P and Nasdaq notched record closing highs. The Fed reduced rates 0.25 percentage point as policymakers took note of a job market that has generally eased, while inflation continues to move toward the U.S. Central Bank's 2% target. Brian Mulberry, client portfolio manager with Zacks Investment Management, calls the market reaction encouraging.
even after the Fed cut, we're not seeing any big moves on the 2 or the 10-year yields either. Everything's just kind of holding relatively steady. Overall, that's got to be seen as a positive, as we're sitting now at, record high territories across the board. Nobody's really having second doubts about the rally that happened yesterday. I think that's pretty positive.
Stocks on the move included Warner Brothers Discovery, which jumped 12% as the media company posted a quarterly profit after a loss was expected. And Zillow surged 24% after the online real estate broker's quarterly revenue topped estimates.
My artwork is a portrait of Alan Turing, the brilliant British mathematician who laid the foundation for modern computing and artificial intelligence. The portrait has a fractured and layered quality, reflecting our current fragmented and multifaceted worlds.
Well, there have been many artists called non-artists, right from Matisse and Picasso and the like, and they seem to have fared history pretty well by being called a non-artist. Is it art? Well, that's up to the audience to decide. Our focus is an ethical arts project that explores the current beginning of the Fourth Industrial Revolution.